Good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction. As mentioned, my name is Kiwan. The company that we founded is called MVP Tech. And following on from the session that you just listened to, I'm going to try and point out a few aspects of security which actually is often overlooked. A little bit about us. I'll sort of breeze through this. I won't bore you with much of the details, but we're specialized in security and technology systems integration. Most of the systems that we provide are coming in from the West, US, UK, European, and Australian manufacturers. This is a Dubai-based company that initially started over here and is now operating across the region. Our first setup was in Dubai. Today we're represented in Abu Dhabi, in Basra, in Doha, and São Paulo, Brazil. We're fully licensed to operate within our regions, of course. Many of you are probably familiar with the fact that security is actually mandated by law in a lot of these markets. So when designing and deploying systems, we take that into consideration as well. We have a large engineering base in the region. So we've got over 170 full-time representatives, and we're growing year on year. I'm not going to go into too much of the details except to point out a few of the major systems. So we operate in a few segments. One of them is the security system. So some of it is the high-end stuff that you probably wouldn't use in a retail environment, but most of it is the kind of technologies that we deploy in a retail environment. So you've got the security systems area, surveillance systems, which is the IP cameras. I'm going to touch on that subject. AV and RMS solutions, within the retail sector, within the hospitality sector. IT infrastructure solutions. The reason I like to mention IT infrastructure is today, most of the solutions that we're deploying are converged with the IT infrastructure that most of you probably already have in your stores. Car park management systems and access control and intercom. Few of our references regionally. So today we have over 250 locations that we're serving. We're primarily focused on the mid to high-end segment as far as retail goes. These are globally recognized brands with very high demand for both aesthetics and technology. Some of our customers in different fields. In the oil and gas sector, we're very active in Iraq. Government and critical infrastructure. A lot of these customers you'll probably recognize within the UAE, some overseas like United Nations. Hospitality sector. And construction and residential sectors. Very quickly, some of our partners. The reason we like to make mention of these partners is typically they are first, second, and third in their global categories as far as products go and as far as solutions go. We're going to primarily focus this presentation on Axis and Milestone and how we've deployed it within the retail sector, both from an operational perspective and from security perspective. Again, IT and AV partners, many of them are recognizable. One thing that I want to mention over here is that most of the solutions that we're providing are converged and they work on your existing infrastructure. Nothing that we're providing today is proprietary. We basically provide open platforms. So if you are an IBM fan, we will use your IBM infrastructure. If you prefer Cisco on your network, we'll use Cisco as the infrastructure. Going into MVP Tech solutions for the retail segment. There are five, wow, that image is a little distorted, apologies. There are five major sectors that we've identified as far as retail goes. One of them is, naturally, everybody wants to boost sales. Second one is, everybody wants to collect marketing data for the purpose of boosting sales. We also want to improve operations. We want to track logistics and perhaps speed it up. And we want to increase overall security so that we can reduce the amount of shrinkage, both caused by internal factors and external factors. The solutions that we present include forensics, and what we mean by forensics is being able to go in and collect the data that's existing already within your infrastructure, but you're probably not making much sense of. Tie that into real-time analysis, so the ability to actually react to things there and then as they happen. And analytics. The point on analytics is that basically it's intelligence without having to necessarily have the human interference. Most people think of surveillance as a cost to the business. That's not necessarily true. There are a lot of operational uses for your existing security infrastructure. Most of you already have the security infrastructure in place. It's about leveraging it. If we focus on loss prevention, theft at point of sales, cash points, theft by staff, employees or organized gangs or shoplifters, there are easy answers to this and there are easy solutions to this. Service performance and marketing data. How much time is somebody standing in front of a shelf? Why are they standing so much time in front of a shelf? Why are they walking a certain direction within the store? Counting people, creating thermal maps so that you can understand what times of the day are busiest in your large department stores or perhaps even in your small stores. Why are certain areas of the store getting more footfall than other areas? All that intelligence is available simply by having the right video surveillance in place. Crowd control. One of the questions was, it gets very busy certain periods of, certain times of the year. There are answers to how to manage crowd control. Health and safety management. It could just be for the safety of your customers. Did somebody leave a bag behind? Has somebody tripped and fell? You know, in overseas, you'll see that a lot of shopping centers, for example, get sued for basically false claims of having tripped over and fell because a floor was wet. How do you protect yourself as a property against those claims? Store operations, managing crowds and lines at counters, counting volumes of traffic at the point of sales. Why is it important to count these volumes at these point of sales? Monitoring stock control and shelves. When your shelves start emptying out, is there anybody really doing the rounds, the checks on your floor? Is anybody restocking these shelves fast enough in order to be able to cope with demand? General parking surveillance, the well-being of your staff. In certain markets that we operate like Brazil, this is very important. Safety and security, access control, building surveillance, theft, license plate recognition, illegal parking, unusual behavior, even lost children in department stores. Why are we using IP surveillance in retail environments? Most of you are probably familiar with the term CCTV. CCTV comes from the old generation analog systems. We've been deploying IP now in the region since 2006. I remember when we initially started trying to sell IP cameras, people used to laugh us out of rooms. They're like, "You're crazy, you're trying to sell us a web camera for $1,000? Eventually, it became a trend and people started understanding that a camera is in essence not only video, it's a source of information, and that information needs to be on a network and it needs to be accessible from anywhere at any time. So, easy integration and future-proofing of technologies. Today's infrastructure can be deployed and held in the same location for years to come, whereas in the past, we would have to deploy an analog system and then change the cabling after a few years and change the technology. Today, once the fiber infrastructure is in place, once the cabling infrastructure is in place, all you have to do is be changing the end devices, similar to changing a laptop or similar to changing a smartphone. So it's about building infrastructure that will be there for 10, 15, 20 years serving you. Integration with existing retail systems. You know, different customers have different POS requirements. Today you want to be able to have open systems that can integrate into Oracle, for example, or integrate into Microsoft Fidelio. Convergence on open source IT platforms. Cost is a consideration. So if you're already deploying your IT systems in place, why not leverage that existing infrastructure to also deploy these sort of technologies? Economies of scale infrastructure-wise, the larger the systems become, the more manageable they become, and actually the more cost-effective they also become. Scalability. You shouldn't be restricted by the products that you install in place. You should be able to grow according to your business. If today you started with a franchise of 3 locations, you should be able to grow it to 30 and not have to rip out all the technology that you've invested in. Far superior image quality. Anybody that has seen the progression of smartphones from the basic 1 megapixel cameras to 10 megapixel cameras to 20 megapixel cameras. It's exactly the same concept in video surveillance. You want to be able to see what banknote somebody passed across the counter. You want to be able to see the details of your jewelry in your casing. You want to be able to pick up the details of your shelves, whether it is stocked or not stocked. Image quality is equally as important. Remote and immediate access. Today, businesses are spread across very large geographic areas. It is unrealistic to believe that businesses are going to invest in the manpower to be able to man all these systems in these individual locations. So you want to be able to centralize the information. You want to be able to receive the relevant information in a single location, irrespective of whether your store is in Dubai and you're based in London. Video analytics and intelligence on the system, which I'll go into a little bit more. I'm not going to go into too much technical details, but just to give you an overview of what a surveillance basic architecture looks like. It's very similar to what you would have in any office type environment. Of course, there's minimum criteria in terms of processing power, in terms of networking, but you'll see here that you have a regular switch. A switch that would serve your laptop can also serve the cameras. Most of the cameras today are PoE, which means power over Ethernet. You don't need to run any electrical cabling. Everything comes out of a central location, which is the switch. If you see on the right-hand side where we have Milestone software installed on servers and storage, these are exactly the same servers that are storing your current data. It's the IBMs, it's the HPs, it's the Dells. And on the left-hand side, we've even made mention of an analog camera down here. We even have a solution to those of you that already have systems deployed and you don't want to scrap them. We can simply convert them using an encoder and bring everything onto the network. So it's about slowly moving from legacy systems to the latest systems. And then on the right-hand side, you sort of see a bubble where it says Internet and Remote Client Viewing Station. It's somewhat simplified, and of course your systems are secured. It's not really traveling over the Internet. They're all going to be over encrypted communication and using VPNs, but that gives you an idea that the limit of the information, access to the information, is limitless. Most people would not necessarily be aware that a single device can provide you multiple sources of information. I can today do queue management. So the question comes, when the point of sales get very busy, well, I've got an answer for that. It's called queue management. Thermal mapping. How much movement is in store and how is this movement taking place? Audio detection. Unusual events. I can even listen in to certain events. We have today, as an example, citywide surveillance, which, for example, can pick up gunshots, which thankfully is not a case in this part of the world. But audio, again, could be used for a number of things. If a fight breaks out on the shop floor, you would want to alert the security. People counting. Object removal. Has somebody removed something and walked out of the store with it? Remote monitoring, being able to access this information. Point of sale integration and dwell time. Point of sale integration. Would you not like to have a video associated with every transaction that takes place in the store? Okay. I'm going to sort of rush through this quite quickly. One of the systems that we're using is basically Access Communications. They are the leaders as far as IP cameras go. They were launched several years ago, and they actually invented the IP camera. Today we have thousands of these cameras installed across the region. Here are some examples. Milestone surveillance software, very flexible, able to be installed across multiple different areas, all coming back to central location. Again, this is all over the network. Here are some video applications for security. So you're guaranteeing the safety of shoppers. You're guaranteeing shoplifting is not taking place. You're managing suspicious movements, trespassing, and people tracking. So this is the security applications I was talking about. But now we'll go into the operational applications. POS integration. Today, I can integrate video surveillance into your POS systems, allowing you to check all transactions made between certain times. Search against invoice numbers. Search against values of transactions. Each one of these results will come back with a video of what's taking place at that time. Search against brand sales. So I can go in and I want to search a particular brand in a big department store and see how many transactions have taken place that day. I can search 1 or 60 POS machines in the same location. So I can bring up data. I can say, show me all transactions over 10,000 dirhams today. And it'll bring back all the transactions with a video associated with it. I can also start generating alarms based on preset parameters. And I can generate activity reports. Video application with your article surveillance. One of the issues was security, people walking out of the store. Again, you can associate video to all of your article surveillance, be it Sensormatic, Checkpoint, Gunibo. Again, this is information that you want to receive in real time. People counting. So you've got people counting and you've got crowd counting. People counting is individual counting coming in through your front doors. Crowd counting is where you have a very large group of people and you have to provide estimates. Again, these are statistics that provide you with peak times, low times, gender specific, children, grown-ups. Video application for customer service. On the customer service side, one of the questions was regarding pause. If a pause till becomes very busy, the system should be able to alert either somebody in management in the store to open another cashier or to start adding cashiers to that particular location. So all this data is available to you through video. Heat mapping, again, what I mentioned earlier on the issue of heat mapping, you can basically start tracking the movement of people inside your stores. You can also understand why is it that they're standing in front of certain shelves at certain times. These are a few of the deployments that we've done, including malls, pharmacies, supermarkets, home centers, and so on. So it's not defined to a particular segment. Today we are serving all those different segments with different applications. These are a few of our awards, and that's it.